What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. This is going to be a potentially long one. Buckle up. However, this is an important one. You don't want to miss any of this. You want to watch this video to the end. I guarantee you. I don't tell you that. This is not a clickbaity thing. You need to see all this. If you're a reloader, if you're a shooter thinking about getting into reloading, just in general, if you're kind of interested in the industry and how things work out here and there with certain things, you need to watch this video. Please share this video also, because everybody needs to hear this news. This is actually fantastic news we have here. Expansion Industries, the company that we talked about in our previous video, which I'll try my darndest to link up here. If it's not here, it'll be in the description below. But I'll definitely try to get it in there for you. We did a video on that company highlighting that they are a new-ish company getting into the primer business. They're an existing company. They're getting into the primer side of things. They're really giving it a go. We made a video about them where I didn't know any information about the company yet. I just heard about them. I researched a little bit. I took what I got from various sources and I tried to deliver that news to you. I was not accurate 100% on certain things. I was a little harsh on the company, just slightly critical, I guess you could say, just questioning what would be really going on with the company. I have questions. I'm a critical thinker. I know a lot of you out there had the same questions. I saw a lot of the same kind of questions in the comment section. We think alike. I was contacted by a gentleman named Richie Smithson Jr. He's one of the owners and he's the national marketing director for Expansion Industries. We went back and forth in email and it was a great conversation. I learned a whole lot. He was very open. He actually initiated the conversation with me down in the comment section, which is very rare for any company heads, and thank you for that. That is awesome. So while emailing back and forth, I submitted to him basically a set of questions. So there were a couple options we had to bring the information to you that I have for you today. What we settled on, because with the health of the channel surviving, YouTube won't like me promoting companies in a live stream, anything like that. I got to be really careful. So to survive as the channel, we're doing it this way. I basically asked a ton of questions in email format, and this man answered every single one of them. I asked 16 questions, but there were questions within questions. I asked him a total of 20 questions, some of them kind of repetitive, but he completely, thoroughly answered every single one of them. Again, that's unheard of in this industry, especially for a guy like me. I have a very small channel, so that's awesome. Thanks, Richie. We all appreciate that. So every shooter out there understands what's going on with ammo availability. It stinks. The ammo availability is getting better, here and there, with a lot of calibers, some of them not. You still can't find 10 millimeters to save your life. Literally to save your life with defensive ammunition, you couldn't find it. But worse than that, if you're a loader, hand loader, reloader, whatever, you can't get your hands on primers. And if you're some of the smaller ammunition companies, you might not be able to get your hands on primers. It's really not a good situation. The big guys, we know who they are, Vista and Olin, the duopoly in the ammo world. They've created this situation where they're not going to release primers to us now. Chukes Outdoors put out a great video. I'll try to link that also. And he explains how there's a memo that went out. There's no more orders being taken for primers in 2022 for CCI and federal. That's ridiculous. So they're cutting us off. They want them for whatever reason, because they have them allocated to somebody else, because they want to keep them back for their ammunition, or because they just don't want to give them to us. So that leaves us few options. I don't even see Remington primers on the shelf anymore. So we're, again, personally, so I don't know if they're really making and distributing and sending out primers. That leaves us nobody. Olin and Vista, that's it. We can't import primers right now. Europe's a mess. They've got all the primers, Fiocchi and all that. Trust me, those are going to Europe. They're not worried about the United States right now. As far as American production of primers, we are stuck. That's going to change. Expansion Industries is going to go up against the big guys. I'm going to read off these questions in a weird format, and I will give you word for word what this man said. I'm not going to post the whole email up here. I'm just going to read. You're going to have to take my word for it. Trust me. And he'll be in the comment section if I screw anything up. Please, Richie, if I screw anything up, correct me. And I will correct it on a video. But I want you guys to know that we have hope to go up against these giants. We're getting cut off by them. They won't give us the proper things. Starline can give us all the brass in the world. We can get all the powder in the world, get all the bullets in the world. We can't get what makes it go boom. These 1,000 packs, these are almost non-existent around me now. Now we're down to 100 packs and limits. And now, from what I understand, we won't be getting any of it. So everybody that ran out and bought expensive loading equipment, everybody ran out and bought their favorite die sets, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of dollars worth of equipment. If you went out and bought the complete Dillon setup, so if you went out and bought the biggest Dillon with all the bells and whistles and the auto drive and all that, and you have it set up where you can sit back and type on the iPad and it kicks out 700, 900, 1,200, 1,300 rounds per hour, that's all well and good, but if you don't have primers, you're making 0 rounds per hour, and that's horrible. So many people have invested in all this equipment, and once again, still continuing, but getting worse. The primer situation is crushing it. We can't do it. Now, there's people out there that always chime in and say, oh, buy it cheap, stack it deep, and all that. That's all well and good, but what about the new people? They don't have a chance right now. And me personally, I have a pretty good stash, but I have a stash for a couple years. I had to feed my family. I had to grow a business. I had to do things like have a garden in the backyard and feed my pets and fix my truck, do whatever I needed to do. I couldn't go out and buy a lifetime supply of primers. The people that say, I've got 500,000 primers in my basement, that's great and that's awesome. And I wish that I had that also, but I could never afford to put 500,000 primers in my basement. That's it. So we're basically going to do the question and answer session now, and it's going to be long. You see the time on this video, but it's all worth it in my opinion. It's kind of a live stream that's not really a live stream that was posted up the next day or whatever. But sit back and here's some questions. Now, disclaimer/apology, I'm not a professional journalist. I'm not an interviewer. I never went and took a journalism class. I'm not good at interviewing people because I don't do this professionally. People who actually know a little bit about this channel know that I'm a very young channel. However, I like what I'm doing and I'm going to keep doing it. I'll get better at this. So I apologize for the choppiness and my unprofessionalism in the question asking. However, Richie answered everything like a pro. He put up with my totally unprofessional interviewing process through email. Thanks, Richie, and I'll do my best to convey the message. So although this is going to be weird because I'm going to be reading from paper, sorry about that, I'm going to be reading word for word his answers. I'm not altering any of them. You get it unfiltered. You don't get it worked around by me. You don't get it paraphrased. This is what the man said. And believe me, you want to hear this stuff. After this conversation, this completely reworked my whole thinking process about this, and I think it will help you and alleviate you a little bit and just make you understand things maybe just a little bit better. Question number 1, actually a 3-part question. Are you already making primers for public sale? If so, where are they generally available? If not, when can we see actual production and or shipments? When would you consider yourself aiming to be at full-scale production? Richie Smithson Jr. Answer. So we are in the process of training our primer production staff. We hope to have limited production up and running earliest a few months. All of our first shipments are going out to customers that have already purchased our first production. Those companies took a chance on us and have been waiting in line. We are going to service them first and are doing everything we can to get them product first, but as anyone who shoots knows, primers can't be half good. They have to be perfect to work properly. So it's taking us longer than we would have liked, but we have to get the quality right. As far as when the general public will be able to purchase primers, the first place you will see our brand on shelves or online is with some of the first OEM manufacturers that purchased primers for resale. It may take some time before you see sizable quantities on our website, but they eventually will be available for purchase there in the near future. I don't have a date on that yet, but stay tuned. As far as full-scale production, that's a loaded question. We have more buildings going online towards the end of the year, but we positioned ourselves to react to the market. So if we need to make more, we will have the room and the equipment to build more lines. That's a great answer. So question number 2 pertaining to this. We have seen these primers listed on that website in my previous video, but not for sale due to availability. Will that company be getting a significant quantity to dish out to us? Richie's answer. Yes, they are one of those first OEM customers that have been in line and patiently waiting for us to get our production running and ramped up to resale our products. As far as quantity goes, that info is proprietary, but they will definitely have them. They just jumped the gun a little on listing them on their website. That's partially our fault, but you won't believe the delays we've been fighting between COVID running through our contractor workforce and delays in stuff like getting our HVAC. This project has been a challenge, and I'm happy we are finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Fair answer. So question number 3, tying into question number 2. That company had an advertised price, I believe, of $80 per 1,000. Would that be an accurate price, current retail? The answer: I will be 100% honest here. The ammunition market is insanely competitive, and for me to list our prices right now gives my competitors an advantage over us. Think David and Goliath. So I'm not going to give those big companies any more advantage than they already have. Here's what I will say. All our customers reselling our components need to adhere to a MAP pricing contract so that we don't see price gouging in the market. I don't have a time frame on when primers will even show up on our website because we need to service our OEM customers first, but that's about as transparent as I can get without being too specific. We just aren't ready yet to release that info, but you'll see soon enough when the product hits the shelves. Again, fair enough. Understandable, completely. Question number 4, and this is dealing with our biggest problem, how to get these things and how to get them reasonably. How is your distribution chain set up? Will you be using the typical distributors? We would ask this because the typical distributors tend to play some serious games with their products. Favoritism is real. Sometimes the smaller guys have no chance because the bigger guys have the buying power, and that's it. Richie's answer: great question. We handle all our distribution in-house for that exact reason. This ensures us to service mom and pop ammunition operations all the way up to medium to large production factories in the same way. The contract the big guys sign with us is the same that the small gun store signs. If you want to distribute our products, just call my brother. He's our national sales director and runs our sales team. I will say you may have to wait a while though. Most of our production line for this first phase has already been purchased. And I bet it has. Number 5, which ties into number 4. This is a long one. How are we going to make sure that these get into the hands of shooters, actual reloaders? The scalping on these items is ridiculous and has become a serious problem in the industry. It sure has. Richie's answer on that: this is honestly a tough issue because once it leaves our factory, we only have so much control over the third and fourth market. We have the most control over the secondary market because, like I said before, we handle all our own distribution. If one of our OEM customers violates their MAP pricing agreement, their contract with us is terminated. This is where reloaders and shooters have to have some understanding when it comes to running a business. Not everyone is in this business to protect the Second Amendment. A lot of folks in the industry just see an opportunity to make a buck. We obviously want to make money as a company. That's what pays our employees and helps us expand. But we are working very closely with our OEM customers to ensure that the product purchased directly from us is sold at fair market rate. Past that, we don't have much control when a guy scalps a bunch of primers and sells them at his local gun show. That's just the nature of the industry. I will say the difference with us is the volume will eventually be at a rate that those gun show type scalpers will be directly competing with our great prices on our customers' websites, stores, and even our own distribution network. So you may see a little bit of that as we get things going, but eventually anybody will be able to just buy via our website or our customer network. So why buy from the scalper at that point? Perfect. Thank you. Perfect. That's beautiful. That's music to our ears. That sounds like guns ringing in the background. That's awesome. Put the scalpers out of business by simply always having the product available. That's the attitude we need. That is awesome. Thank you for that answer. Number 6 was a repeat question, and he answered it again. So I'm kicking that one out of there. Now, question number 7 is also pretty much a repeat question, but he answered it again completely. I give this man a lot of credit. He put up with my bad interviewing process, and he answered everything. But I think it bears going through question number 7 because it's so important. If these items will be for sale directly on your website, which he stated that they will be eventually, will there be some way to stop people from buying tens of thousands of these and reposting them on Gunbroker immediately? Capitalism is definitely the American way, but raping your fellow 2A buddy is not the way to do things. The situation on Gunbroker is insane. This is what I'm talking about with crooked distributors. And I went on to say, This stuff is not even getting to a store shelf. It's all the buddy system. This is a personal opinion. I know a few people in the industry. I kind of know how things work. I've been able to observe things. I'm constantly online. If you watch some of the auction sites, you'd be amazed at what you can learn by looking at who the seller is, what gun shop they're associated with, and then talk to people in that area. See if they ever see a primer on the shelf in that gun shop, and they won't. But look online and you'll see those primers at ridiculous, stupid prices on the auction site. So, mini rant, what happens is that the distributor gives the ammo to the gun shop. The gun shop says, I had to pay 50 or 60 for this. I could sell it for 80 or 100, or I could just pretend I never got it, tell my customers I never saw it, and I'm going to throw it on my own private gun broker account, or my daughter's gun broker account, or my wife's gun broker account, and I'm going to sell it for $200, and I'm going to make an insane profit. It's a gun store raping their own community. Are they doing what they have to do to survive? That's what they might tell you. The other problem is that distributors themselves, some distributors are huge, very controlled, very behaved. Some distributors are out of control. They're a distributor, but they're rogues. They'll do whatever they have to do to stay in business. So when that distributor gets their boatload of whatever, bullets or primers or whatever, they get a couple pallets in from the manufacturer that they were supposed to distribute. Well, they might not call all 15 of those gun stores that are on their list waiting for those back-ordered primers. Okay, they had to buy them from the distributor at a certain price. Maybe that was $30 or $40. Maybe it was $50. Are they really going to turn it around and give it to the gun store for a $10 or $20 profit when them as a distributor, again, can either as their own company or with their brother, their sister, their mother, their cousin, open up an account somewhere on an auction site, and it never even hits the gun stores because the distributors themselves are scalping these things right off of their main shipments. This happens, trust me. Everything happens. Everything's possible. And that's just what we know about. Mini rant over, Richie's answer. We have always had a position that we won't limit what people want to buy. This problem is solved really simply. Make more stuff. If there is more on the market, the second after that guy buys up a ton of anything, he can't really scalp it because the next guy can always come back to the source, us, and still buy product even after the other guy's large order. That's our plan with all our components. The other companies that make primers in the US have maxed out their production, or at least they claim they have. There is some truth to that in that if they wanted to expand their primer production. In the case for primers, they would need to build a whole new line. That means something totally different than expanding, say, a 9mm line. There is a lot more involved in making a primer line because of the energetics involved. We have designed all our lines to be cell-based. This means if the market demands more product, it's much easier to add another cell instead of a whole line. Say one product is doing better than another. Our cells are modular, so for example, a small primer cell can be swapped out to make large magnum primers. So the philosophy is totally different with us. The other companies are capped, or at least they claim to be capped. We really don't have a cap, and we have the willpower to grow enough to satisfy demand. That's really the only way to allow folks the freedom to buy what they want while also making sure that people have access. Just make more. At the end of the day, the decision to limit folks lies with us as owners. If we see significant abuse, it's not like it will go to a corporate committee. My brother, my dad, and me will have a conversation over a burger at lunch and make the best decision for us and our retail customers. Solid answer. Full of information. It's going to have my brain working around for a while. Sounds like an incredible process. Sounds like they've really thought it out. Sounds like they've figured it out how to get production maxed up and changed around as needed. Really awesome answer. I mean, fantastic. So before I get on to the next question, I just want to discuss types of primers real quick. For anybody that doesn't understand, there are multiple types of primers. Primarily, most people know about 223 and 9mm, and that is a small rifle primer and a small pistol primer. However, if you shoot 45, 10mm, you'll start to understand large pistol. And if you go to bigger rifle calibers like 308 or even 7.62 by 39, you'll see large rifle primers. Then it goes on beyond that. So let me show you the plethora of different primers you can deal with, which is important to my next question, because Production for 9mm and 223 is very important. That's what everybody uses, and when we alleviate that, we can start to move on to other things. However, not everybody shoots 9mm, not everybody shoots 223, so we're not always on small pistol and small rifle primers. Fortunately, 40 caliber is still small primer, so anybody in the 40 caliber world, and 357 and 38, as I'm going to show you, that's small primer. So there you go. You have small primer availability, but so the basics: small rifle primer, small pistol primer, large pistol primer, large rifle primer. But it goes on from there. Sometimes when you're making ammunition that you want to make to kind of NATO spec in auto-loading guns or semi-auto guns, you don't want to have primers get hit by the firing pin when they bounce a little bit when the bullet loads, so you want a little bit of a harder strike primer. You might go to NATO primers. Pretty important for some people. You might do bench rest shooting. You need to get really accurate. So you try to really make sure you have a good primer that's consistent, and some people really believe in bench rest primers. They're expensive, but they're bench rest primers. They're made to be very controlled tolerances and supposedly help with all sorts of accuracy. I'm not a precision rifle shooter, so I don't know. Some people need Magnum rifle or Magnum pistol primers. Certain loads require it. Certain powders require it. If you're going through H110, sometimes people say that you need to have a Magnum primer. It just ignites things differently. There's large Magnum pistol. Let's not forget about shotgun primers, shot shells. 50 BMG primers are out there too, but I don't know anybody that reloads 50 BMG, and I don't even think it's practical to reload 50 BMGs, so we'll leave that out of there, but I had to mention it so that someone doesn't tell me in the comment that I forgot one. Anyway, let me show you some bullets. So here's a sample of some very popular calibers and what kind of primers they're going to be using. So 7.62 by 54R, 308, 7.62 by 39, the AK round, those are all going to be large rifle. 223 is going to be a small rifle. They could all take a NATO. Then when you move on to 9mm, you have small pistol, 40 is a small pistol, and then you get into this conundrum here of 45 auto can be small pistol or large pistol. 10mm can be small pistol or large pistol. It gets annoying actually sorting brass. Something like 40 Super that we've been playing with, double tap, if you want to reload their ammunition, you need a large pistol. If you want to use the Underwood ammunition to reload, or if you want to buy the Starline brass, which Underwood uses Starline brass, you're going to be using a small rifle primer. Yes, not a pistol, a rifle primer. Small pistol for 38 and 357. For 44 Magnum, we're at large pistol or large pistol Magnum for a lot of powders. 45 Colt's a large pistol. 454 Casull, we go back down to small rifle again, because it's just what they've decided works well in 454 Casull to stop primer flow and things like that. Then we go to 460 Magnum, long rifle or long rifle Magnum. Here we get to a tricky one, 500 Magnum. Depending on who made the brass and what year they made it, that's either large pistol Magnum, large rifle Magnum that you might want to use in there. So it gets really tricky. All those different calibers can use all those different primers that I showed you. And then when we get into shotgun reloading, just to do a basic trap range load, you need these 209 primers. We all know that shotgun shells have gotten ridiculous, so 209 primers, they're in a pinch too. But if you want to reload to get your, trap game on or your kid's trap game on, you need these. If you like to shoot an inline muzzleloader that shoots 209 primers, you need these. That's how you ignite the pellets or the powder that you put in your muzzleloader, unless it's a different type. I'm talking about the 209 inlines. All right, let's move on. Don't let me forget match primers. So the question, number 8. Will you be making multiple types of primers? Not only the 4 basic sizes, but will you be doing bench rest, Magnum, or NATO spec hard primers? Or will you be focusing only on the most wanted types, presumably small pistol and small rifle? Richie's answer. We plan on having a full lineup of various primers. The first ones we are launching with are small pistol and small rifle. You'll eventually see a lot more variations, but basics first. Fair. Now moving on to quality control questions. Really important. What kind of testing will you be going through or have you done to ensure that these primers ignite reliably and consistently, including compatibility with known load data that includes known primer brands? Richie's answer. Multiple third-party labs, a ton of in-house testing done in our own firearms and test guns, teams of chemists, ballisticians, metallurgists, engineers, and press experts have all been involved in the development and implementation of our first primer products. Many of them have had decades of ammunition industry experience, specifically in the production of primers. Our product will perform like any other domestically produced primer on the market. Now that all being said, that's also why we are giving ourselves a good chunk of time to train our production folks to make the product in volume before we ever ship out a box. What's made in a lab is different than what's made on a line. We obviously want to make a lot of product. But the tricky thing about primers specifically is that they have to be perfect for them to function correctly for the end shooter. And despite how customers in this industry can be harsh, we welcome feedback. We want our product to perform like it should. We have been making ammunition now since 2013. We know you have to have a tough skin in this industry if you're going to make the best products on the market. Good answer. Question number 10 might be kind of a silly question. Some might think it's a ridiculous question. I asked it. I got an answer. The answer is interesting and informational. So whether it was a good question or not, the answer's a great answer and we all need to hear it. This may be a silly question, but what type of shelf life can we expect? Can we load a bullet today, store it properly, and fire it 50 years from now? Is there a way to test shelf life of primer compound? My current method of testing is just finding old boxes of Winchester primers that I know are 30 years old and shooting them. That would be really hard to do with a brand new company. The answer. I actually believe there is a way to test shelf life in a lab environment by artificially aging the product by putting it through extreme conditions. In the past, I was in charge of actually developing all of the loads for our company, but since then, we have hired folks with much higher degrees that perform all the quality control processes and do our lab testing. Some of that stuff is honestly over my head, but there is a way to do it, I just don't know all the specifics. As far as 50 years from now, I have no idea. We haven't tested it to that point. The standard for most primers, if they are stored in cool, dry environments, is a shelf life of 5 to 7 years usually. I have obviously seen them last much longer, but that's because they were stored well. Heat is the biggest killer for all primers. If you want your primers to last longer, don't leave them in the garage and seal them in an ammo can with one of those little silica moisture absorbers. You can find them in almost any packaging these days. Believe it or not, actual primer compound is really not much different from one company to the next. Best analogy I could give is like gasoline. All the gas companies claim their gas is different. In reality, the chemistry is all the same. Same thing with primers. We are working on a new type of primer for our later phases of production that will be different from anything on the market. Some really exciting stuff, but those won't launch for a year or two. In the meantime, store your primers well. The product will last much longer. That's just really good information for everybody. Really good information. And exciting news about something in the future. This is getting into the raw materials side of things, and this is where the big companies just love to cry and whine about why they have to kick our prices up and why we don't have availability of anything. Raw materials is always a good excuse. Let's see how this company handles that. Question number 11. Are you able to get significant and adequate quantities of your raw materials needed to continue your process in the long term? This seems to be a very volatile part of the industry. At least that's what they are leading us to believe. I said long term. Richie's answer. Yes, we are. This is part of the willpower involved in doing this project. Is it hard to get raw materials during the age of COVID and worldwide shortages? Yes. Is it impossible? No. You have to be creative and persistent. Some of the rumors you are hearing are really just good excuses by other companies to offer customers poorer service. The flip side of that is customers need to understand pre-pandemic prices are not coming back anytime soon. Raw materials directly affect the prices of end-produced goods. All I can say is that elections have consequences. We are pretty honest with our customers. If we are truly having a hard time getting something, we are pretty transparent about it. But that doesn't mean our team isn't making 100 other phone calls to find a solution to the problem. Sometimes it just takes good old-fashioned work, and unfortunately in today's world that has gone out of style. Not for us. It is also why we are so anti-corporate culture. If you have ever owned a family business before, you know that no isn't good enough when the bills are on the line and payroll needs to be made. We impart that attitude on our team every day. No for us doesn't mean a stop, it just means a new direction. That's relieving. They don't give up. They're going to keep pushing forward. They're going to find the materials. They're going to get us what we need to keep their company running, to keep the whole shebang going. Fantastic answer. So number 12 is kind of a repeat. Like I said, I'm not really good at doing this, but thanks to Richie for answering the question anyway, and his good information in the answer. So, question number 12. Are you going to be working with any of the boutique or smaller ammunition companies? Will they be getting first deliveries and first priority on batches of primers because they have buying power to buy pallets at a time? Again, this is trying to figure out who will get the primers first. Small companies, big companies, or the average reloader. What I was thinking about when I asked this question was, are some of these shipments going to be going out to the companies that we know and love that aren't the big guys? They're the smaller guys that we support. I'll just go ahead and say one of my favorites, Underwood. Those companies need primers. I don't know. I don't have anything to do with their company. So I don't know if they're struggling for primers. I don't know if they can get them other ways. I don't know where they get any of their stuff from. But I would assume that they're pinched on primers also. So the question was kind of asking, is it going to them for two different reasons? Is it going to them so that they can produce more ammunition? Because I'd love to see some of these Underwoods and double taps and Corbons and whatever, just the other than the big manufacturers and all the really smaller guys that make things for 12 gauge and 10 gauge and things like that. I want to see them being able to produce ammunition. And if some of their shelves or some of their stock is low, it might be because they don't have components and they have to prioritize components to 9mm and 45 and whatever, so they can't make some of the other stuff that we need. The other part of the question is yes, how much is it going to be going to companies and not retail for us? Richie's answer. We are working with companies of all shapes and sizes. The guys getting product first are the ones that took a chance on us and placed orders first. We welcome anybody big or small, but the mom and pop shops hold a special place for us because that's who we are. I will say any product reloaders are going to see from our first production will be from OEM customers that bought in on this first production. You guys will just have to be on top of seeing who's got what when we start shipping out. Good answer to a pretty much repetitive question. Now we're going to get into pricing, which I know everybody's interested in. So the question is, how do you see the pricing of primers per 1,000 going in the future? Richie's answer is, well, the other big guys just announced that they will not be taking any orders for the near future. So as far as the market goes, it could go up. It really depends on how fast we can get up and running and the volume we send out. Like I said, it will be significant, but our team needs to ramp up. The logistics and safety training alone makes this project a big task. There is also inflation and the war in Eastern Europe to consider. If that spills out into other parts of Europe, prices will get worse. We are going to be a big reason the prices go down, but how much, I'm honestly not sure. I'd say pray for our leaders that they make wise decisions, but as backup, brass may be a good investment this year. Smart answer. Definitely spot on. So question number 14 out of 16 is actually more of a statement, but there's an answer attached to it, or a response. We need serious competition to drive this price down. I know as a company, nobody wants to see profits go down. However, as a customer, nobody wants to see prices go up or stay high, especially artificially high. Richie's response to that. Sure, I like profits. It means I get to make my company bigger, hire more folks here in Texas, make more stuff. That, and all I've been doing for the past year is spending money. We are looking forward to finally recouping the millions we have spent so far. Here's what everyone should know about us that sets us apart. We are not afraid to grow. Most companies in our industry have been more than cautious of growth for a long time. We think fundamentally it's because collectively behind closed doors, they think the Second Amendment shoe is going to drop, and if they expanded their production, they would be caught holding the bag. We are betting on the American people. At the end of the day, if we make a bunch of ammo and scale up to reduce the cost of production, we will be happy to make our piece of the pie to ensure freedom rings in America. Unlike the other guys, we think the solution is just to make a lot more pie. When we say it's about freedom on our boxes, it's not just lip service. We mean it. I think that's just another absolutely fantastic answer. Number 15 is a weird one, but trust me, I've heard this. Some may argue that primers were artificially low in price. I don't manufacture this stuff, so I don't know personally. And what I'm talking about is that people have said that primers were way too low before. There's no way they should have been that cheap. It was just because they were dumping them off on us and they had nowhere else to put them. So it was impossible for it to be like that, to be sustainable, and now they're just regulating. I don't know. Richie's answer to that exactly is, ha! Is that what folks are saying? We didn't notice. Winky face. So what I'm hoping that means is that he doesn't think that cheaper primers are a bad thing. Number 16, the final question. Kind of a weird one, but the internet sleuths have seen things, and they realize that this company has messed with powders before also. So the question is, also, will you be making some of your powders available again? Richie's answer, maybe. We want to make sure primers are up first before we start talking about powder. Totally fair answer, I get it. I think the answers that were given here are super positive. Me personally, I am going to say that this company, for right now, from what I've seen, I will take back anything that I said in my previous video about being, cautious about them. I'm going to take them at their word. I'm going to take Richie at his word, and I'm going to throw my 2 fingers up behind this company. I want them to do good. I want them to succeed. Everything that was told to us just now, I really want to see it go good for them. I want to see them absolutely kick the crap out of the big companies when it comes to telling them what's up. They don't control everything. I do believe that they want to see the American shooter succeed and not be controlled by these that are running these duopolies. So thank you for that, Expansion Industries. Much appreciated. Richie, I'm sure you're going to watch this. I thank you very much. You were more than generous with your time and your answers, talking to me, answering all this. My viewers are going to love this. I don't see this kind of information ever coming out on channels. They just don't do this. So thank you. Really appreciate it. I personally, and I'm sure most of my viewers, wish you, your team, and your family good luck. Go get them. And to all my regular viewers, and to anybody that might not be a regular viewer, I think this is great news, and I really hope that you share this around. I want people to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, for sure. I'm really happy with the answers that we got out of Expansion Industries. Now, I don't work for this company. I wasn't paid for this. This is not a paid promotion. This is simply a news segment. I am being a journalist of some sort. So I hope this doesn't get me in any kind of trouble for making this video, because it would be unfair. I'm simply bringing the news. This is great info that I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot, and I hope a lot of questions were answered. If you like what we do here at The Turkey's Opinion, please hit like, please share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. That way you know when our videos drop. Also, we are on Patreon if you want to directly support us. We do a lot of different things here on The Turkey's Opinion. It's not just pistols, it's not just shotguns, and it's not just talk videos or news videos. It's a lot of different things. I'll keep trying to bring you guys awesome content. In the meantime, stay safe, have fun, keep shooting. See you next time.